All right, and welcome everyone to the Ginette Biro Podcast. I'm Ginette Biro, and I am so thrilled today to introduce you all to this lovely lady, Tania Leanne, here, who is not only a police officer by day, but a medium every other time of the day and night, specifically medical mediumship. So I have so much I want to say about you, but welcome first and foremost.
Thank you. Thanks.
So glad to have you here, and to tell everybody right off the bat that you have gifted us your presence on Avalon Spirit as well. And I'm so honored to have you a part of Avalon Spirit, specifically because you can bring this concept of medical mediumship, which I'm really excited to talk about, to people. So you are, I've done a reading with you already, and you completely blew me away. And so you're a very gifted medium, first of all, right? Like your ability to bring through past family members, current information, all of that is just beautiful. But then you take it to this idea of medical mediumship. So can you explain to everybody what that is?
Well, I learned medical mediumship through who was a friend, Leah Morrison. And basically what it is I'm able to see what's happening in your body. I'm not a doctor, but I can see where something's not working in the way that it should. So my explanation for something might be like, I'm looking at your knee and I can see this thing floating in there. Like, I'm not saying I wouldn't even know what the muscles are in a knee, but like, I'm not giving that language, but I can see into it. And I shouldn't say I can see into it. Spirit gives me information to see into it. And every now and then I get these words of like different medical terms, and I'm trying to kind of, spill them out and make sense of them. But yeah, so with Leah, I just sort of developed. And the other piece that really comes for me is mental. So if somebody's having troubles with anxiety or some mental health issues, again, I'm not a psychiatrist, but I can I'll either be told, or I can kind of, based on like my own life experiences, kind of weed through or get a feel for sort of the symptoms that the person's having. So yeah, and different remedies for things too. So it might be an herbal remedy or what vitamins are low, that type of thing. Spirit I'm just the channel.
Yeah, exactly right. And isn't that so true? Like, we really are just the channels.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to put it, because like you said, you're not a doctor, you're not a psychiatrist, but you have insight from the spirit world into things that sometimes people are stuck on, because sometimes people have done all the blood tests, all the scans, all the whatever, and nothing's coming up, but the issue still persists.
Correct.
That's where what you can see and gain access to, it can be so valuable for people, because sometimes it's like, hey, for example, did you know there's something coming up with mold poisoning, right? And it feels like you have mold, or I'm being shown there's mold in your system or something, where it's a direction somebody might not have looked, and the doctor
exactly
looked, right? And so when spirit can bring us that information and you can see that, like, that can be such a valuable tool to someone's healing moving forward.
Absolutely, to move them in the right direction.
So I think it's a beautiful part of holistic wellness, truly, is, balancing the scientific side with the spiritual side, because as we know, spirit has a lot to share.
They do.
Right?
They
have
do.
A lot
Yes.
to share with us about how we can mend lots of parts of self. But I love the fact that you can come in and help, dive into those specific pieces relating to health and wellness. So,
well, because I think, spirituality, like, I think that we're doing ourselves a disservice if we're only looking at, sort of the connecting to the universe and the prayer and the meditation. I mean, there's so much more to healing and physical well-being. It can be mental, it can be your body, it can be your fitness, it can be your food, it can be allergies, it can be all of those other spiritual aspects of things too. So I think sometimes people too get caught in this one way in which they're healing and growing in their lives, and they miss the four other ones, if that makes sense, right? So it's bringing in a totality of it.
yeah, I love that. And I think that's where a lot of healing is going nowadays is that totality idea, that holistic idea that all aspects feeding into one, because we really are multifaceted beings. So
Right.
we have
Exactly.
multifaceted access to healing and wellness, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that's so important. Now, I want to know, how did you get to this point? Like, because I got to go back to what I said in the beginning. Like, I didn't just throw that in for fun, but you are a police officer, so you're very left brained and you function very well in that world, which is a very left brain world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which seems very opposite from mediumship. But you are also a very gifted medium. So, how did this come to be for you? Like, when would you say you started or recognized, or how did it come to be?
So, so I would say so it was about when my son was born, and it's kind of funny because I started to see spirit, literally see dead people.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, like, what is going on? I mean, I had no idea, and quite frankly, like in hindsight, I was communicating with spirit throughout my life, but I don't think I really understood that.
Yeah.
And like you said, I did grow up very left brained. And up to that point in my life, I was very left brained.
Mhm.
So when my son was born, I actually wondered if it was something to do with like the physical birthing process.
Yeah.
And then what I was told is that it was actually about love, because I had raised my vibration to the vibration of love in the love that I had for my son. And that's perhaps what started opening it up for me. But I remember I was talking to someone and their mother had just died, and they were significantly grieving right in front of me. And I was sitting there looking at their mother and I'm like, like, because for me, like, I really was coming from a world that, with all love and respect, it was BS and a whole bunch of foo-foo. Right. So, and not that I had really even explored it all that much to make an accurate opinion either. It just really wasn't part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So then I started to slowly develop it. And I think the first open circle that I went to, I was fully able to give a reading to somebody. And, I just kept blowing myself away.
Mm-hmm.
And mediumship comes really naturally to me. Very natural. And I'm sure you understand that. You're a talented medium. I came to Avalon because I admire you and your podcasts and readings, and I think you're exceptional.
Oh, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Likewise. But it was funny because I have to say, like, I remember you're like, can you help me? I kind of need to see where my mediumship's at. And I'm like, okay, sure. Like, I offer some courses. And you're like, yeah, no, but I think, like, can we just sit and talk? Right? And I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, let's do it. And then you're like, well, how about I just show you kind of how it works? I'm like, sure, yeah. And then you were like, your grandma's coming through. She's showing me this china set, and there's this and this and this and this and this. And I was just like, whoa, okay. So this is a different story. And so
thank you. That's so, like, I love that you say that. It makes me blush, and then it validates me. And there's just all these different feelings that come with it. So thank you.
Well, it's true though. And so I want to speak to, how was it for you to have it open so fast? Because now that you're on this side, sure, it can be like, yes, it's very cool. I know from my journey of having it open over a series of time, that was still overwhelming for me. How was it for you to have it open so suddenly, so effectively, so fast?
I'm trying to remember back to then, but I was in a completely different place in my life then. And I can certainly recognize times where I would dive into it and other times where I had to step back because I needed to deal with life. Mm-hmm. And, I was raising my son by myself. I was working shift work. I had a farm. Like, there was so much going on that I really wasn't stopping to kind of dive into this. So then I would dabble in it again for a little while, and then I would step away, but I was always growing internally. Pardon me.
That's good.
So I was always growing as a person. I was always trying to sort of move forward and what's the word? Like
evolve?
Yes.
Yeah.
And what I found is actually the correlation between me evolving, and I'll remind me to go back to sort of what it was like, me evolving with my abilities evolving. So as I came to realize that it wasn't just about understanding spirituality, that it was about the physical and the mental, that's when my abilities became that. And do you know what I mean? So it's as I grow and develop as a multifaceted person, because I really am quite multifaceted. It's how common is it, for a police officer to also be an intuitive medium? I don't think that happens.
Yeah.
So, but back to it coming on strong, it was hard. I'll be honest. It was very hard. It was very hard to have that level of sensitivity and be in a harsh world, especially in policing. And I remember there was times that I would be going into work and I would just be breathing and be like, oh, because as your empath and your empathic abilities come forward, you're really sensitive. And I could feel everything. And it was at times very overwhelming. I would be having a lot of anxiety. But what that also taught me is I have very grounded, firm boundaries with energy. So I can go into most situations, and if I don't want to feel something, I don't.
Okay. That's a skill. That is an
That is a hard fought for skill.
Yeah.
That is not easy. Because I literally used to sit down beside people and have panic attacks for them, or I would feel their back pain, or I would all of a sudden feel sick and I didn't know why. So not only do I have strong boundaries with energy, but I have a very clear picture of what's mine and what isn't. And again, that takes a lot of practice.
Right.
So.
And that's probably, though, what's helped you really be clear in your mediumship is being able to quickly assess what's yours, what's not.
Yes.
Right. And so maybe that's where some of that left brain aspect of self comes into play, where you're like, it's like checking a list, right? You're like, no, you're on that side. This, you're mine. Okay, fair. Yeah. We got some time. This one, no, it's out. Right. So I think that's probably where some of that comes in, because you seem really efficient at that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I actually believe my efficiency comes from my guides, to be honest. I don't feel like I'm doing any of that. Yeah. That is an agreement that I made with my guides in order for them to move things around for me, so I don't have to think about it. Because when I'm in that connected mediumship, intuitive sort of space, I'm dumb. Like, I can barely form sentences sometimes, and somebody will ask me to, it's like, well, hold on, like I gotta flip back into using my brain, because right now, like, I'm just in the clouds.
Yeah.
So
very true.
Yeah.
Very true. So coming back to how this opened for you. So you said it happened with your son. Now, like when you had your son, do you recall anything for you opening up as a child, or was your childhood, like, is there any in retrospect type stuff that you noticed, or was it full on tap is open when you were pregnant?
I recall, being scared in certain situations to close my eyes, because I remember specifically there was like a man and that would scare me. Or I remember, like, I would always have the vivid dreams. I had a lot of flying dreams. I'm pretty sure that I was astrally traveling. I would fly through the house and do a bunch of things, but not a lot. Like, not a lot.
Yeah.
But I was always, this is going to sound silly, but I was always attracted to crystals and quartz. So we would be at our summer cottage and I would be looking for all of the rose quartz that we could find in the road, or the clear quartz, or we would go on holidays and I would see amethyst and I was just like, oh, I've got to have that amethyst. And I don't think I understood why, but I was always attracted to those things.
Yeah.
And I remember, this is a silly memory, but do you remember those tests that we did as children? And they were like to assess this sort of where people in general are at. It's like an aptitude type test. I can remember as a child putting my hand over, because I didn't know the answer. So I would put my hand over top of it, and I intuitively felt that the correct answer would be shown because it would show up in my hand. I specifically remember that.
Amazing.
So, and I mean, who comes up with that when you're in like grade 3?
Yeah,
right?
Right.
So
wow. That's fantastic. Yeah, I definitely don't remember doing any of that really cool stuff when I was a kid. No, well, not that I can remember. I mean, I would intuitively know if my mom had hid chocolate bars at the top of the cupboard. I would just know
right.
that.
Right. I've always been able to intuitively know when someone's full of crap too.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Imagine. That's probably come in handy with policing.
Yes.
Like, no.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Okay, so again, I know I'm bouncing around a little bit here, but there's
That's okay.
so many little things I want to pull out. But so when someone comes to you for a medical mediumship reading, how does that kind of play out? Like if you were to give people a little insight as to kind of how a reading would go in general, because again, we got to say every reading a medium does takes on a life of its own, right? So how would you kind of describe it though for people? Like,
so are you asking me how it comes through for me, or what I would need from them?
Like what would someone expect in a reading with you, right? Like what would they
so
yeah,
I would need sort of a specific question about what it is that they're looking for, because I mean, and Leah taught me this, like I could body scan, but it's a lot easier if they give you specifics, like, okay, I'm struggling with my ankle, my right ankle. And then spirit brings me the right ankle. And then I can see what's happening in there. Spirit will say, X-ray, arthritis, sprain, like they'll give me that information. Or sometimes what will happen is they'll give me the picture of it on the inside. And that's frustrating because I'm like, right?
Look it up in a book,
right? Yeah, your ankles looks like this. This is what I'm being shown, you know, and I don't know what I'm being shown.
Yeah.
A lot of the words I don't know. Or then I'll have them come through with different medicinal properties for healing. So it might be shiitake mushrooms. It might be, I don't know, ashwagandha. Yeah. I can't come up with it, but so I'll get these words and then in the reading, I'll be like, oh, let's Google that. Let's see what that even means or what it does. Oh, it's to cleanse your liver. Fabulous. Because we were talking about your liver.
Yeah.
And that's just how it rolls out.
Yeah. I love that though. To me, that's a real great indicator of beautiful messaging coming up, is like when we bring through stuff that we don't even know. And I love that. I do that often. I'm like, hold on, they're giving me a word. Let me look it up here.
Yeah. I don't even know what it means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful flow. And so too, in your readings, like somebody could come to you for medical mediumship, but you may also get a family member, deceased loved one coming through with a message.
Absolutely.
Too, right? Like,
absolutely.
Although you open specifically to help with those questions that they have, when you open the door, you may also get other things that come.
That's exactly right. It's the same channel, essentially. Yeah. So like, as you know, when you open up your mediumship channel, you're opening up to spirit and what information they have coming through. For me, it's essentially the same thing. But what I do in my mediumship is I open up to my guides. Yeah. And I connect to them, and then my guides connect to the other information, and then they bring that to me.
Right. Okay.
So that could happen, but also if that's the intention of the reading, they know that. And, you know, so that's sort of the information that they bring. Absolutely. But yes, I do. And again, that was the first thing that really came for me was loved ones. Yeah. And connecting to them, connecting to guides, connecting to, and to be honest, like, I don't know a lot of the ascended masters. I don't know a lot of their names. I don't. Luckily, they tell me. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And then, because honestly, I don't have the time. I don't do this full time. I don't have the time to study it. However, as it comes through in readings, you know, that's how I learn. And I just totally derailed. Where was I going with this?
No.
Where was I going?
This is good. It was about how you
mediumship.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. And then, I mean, I can also do psychic. So where somebody, so like if you said to me, hey, my husband and I are struggling with something right now, I could, you know, with your permission, tune in and kind of feel the energy of the situation and not intrusively tune into your husband, but tune into the situation as it relates to you is the information that I get. And there's something else that I want to say about medical mediumship, intuitive mediumship in general, is there's some things I don't want to know. Like if somebody is very, like, I'm not going to tell somebody that they have cancer or that there's something significant, you know, happening if I see that. So I've also told my guides, I don't want to share that. Right. For the most part, I get sometimes, yes, I do. But, you know,
that's a big responsibility to bear.
It is.
Those knowings. And so I understand your reluctance to, first of all, receive that information, or if you do receive it, what to share, because that statement of, say, I see cancerous tumor, that statement holds so much energy of what then the person does, right?
Absolutely. And the fear and anxiety that they sit in.
Yeah. So without having the concrete evidence of it, plus a plan of action to offer, that's a hard thing to just give, right? Like in many ways, sometimes that can be irresponsible to just throw that out and be like, there you go. Because there, again, like you said, there's so much fear, there's emotion, there's history, there's trauma, there's all these things connected to that. So, you know, I really respect your delicacy in how you tread those waters, and also your reluctance to even receive that.
Yes.
Yeah.
However, what they would give me, you know, would be, for example, I'm seeing a problem. I'm just throwing this out there with your elbow. And I feel like it would be really beneficial to go get an x-ray. So, you know, it would be something along those lines, but then I don't want to say that either, because someone's going to be like, well, she was really vague. Does that mean that there was something serious and she's not telling? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this is an art that also, like you said, all of it, not just medical mediumship, it all comes with a really big responsibility to the information that you're sharing, to its accuracy. Like I've heard of people giving people readings saying, oh, sorry, your loved one's not over here. What? You know, like what?
Yeah.
A, how's that possible? And B, like, that's not very nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because you can't connect to them. Suddenly they're not here. But you know what I mean? It all comes with a big responsibility. So it is a bit of a juggling act for sure.
Yeah. And I think that's really important to message, or to Matt. Oh my God. I'm having a hard time talking today. Hey,
you're the one stuttering. We talked about this before. I said, what if I start to stutter and I go, blah, 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 blah. I go, can we cut it out? And she's like, well, if it's really bad, we will, but let's just let it go natural. But she's the one. And I love the way you speak though. Like you know, the words just float out so beautifully. And haha.
Oh man. Well, you know, I said, we're just going to roll with it. So we're just going to keep rolling.
Sounds perfect.
My face and mouth can catch up, you know? Yeah, but I'm really glad you brought up that topic. Though I really think that is something that is important to have up front and out in the open, is that responsibility of, first of all, what does come through. Sharing it is a responsibility. Holding the frequency of bringing it through is a responsibility. And then the energy of what that can cause is a responsibility too. So that's where I would encourage people in a reading, is if there's something that feels like you brought it up and it's vague, is for them to ask, like, is there any more that I could do about it? Like maybe someone, if we go back to the elbow and someone's like, okay, what else can you tell me about the elbow? Should I, do you feel a level of concern for this? And you could feel into that question, right? You could be like, okay, let me see. You know, it feels like something that would probably be a good idea to get done rather sooner than later. Right? Or something. It's like, have it be a conversation back and forth.
Absolutely.
And I would encourage people to do that. because also remembering that, yes, you are the channel, but you're also human, and you're limited.
Exactly.
You're limited to what you get. You can ask, but you're also limited, and spirit will just give you what they give, and you don't always understand it. And that's where we have to remember that mediums, just because they can access doesn't mean they get everything or know everything.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I've had spirit, and I'm sure you have, say, well, you're not going there.
Yeah.
This information isn't for them. Or we're not going there, or I'm not telling you, or, you know, and I literally will be blocked.
Yeah.
And I don't always know why. I believe some things that they don't. I think what it comes down to is they only give us the information that we're allowed to know ahead of time. And if we are not allowed to know it ahead of time, because you going through the journey of dealing with your tennis elbow may involve growth for you to stand in your power, to be like, that's enough. Like, I need somebody to listen to me with these doctors. If that's part of your journey, they won't give me the information because it won't allow you to walk those steps, which I know you understand. But sometimes it's aggravating, you know, or people that are new to sort of coming to readings are like, wow, why don't you know the lottery numbers? Like, right? It's like, I wish.
Lottery numbers. I've never gotten lottery numbers.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah. Me neither. And I don't think that's right.
I know, right?
But you know what? If we won the lottery, would we still be doing this? Probably not.
Yeah. Yeah. Well.
Okay, I still would be, but whatever.
I know. I was like, I don't think spirit would let that one go.
I know, but that's why we don't have the lottery, maybe. I don't know.
No problem.
But there's just so much that goes on that we don't understand or know about, that we have to trust what it is that we get and how we get it, I guess, is what I'm trying to tie that in a little bow with.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I really like that. Well, I'm going to leave it there for now then, because I think this gives people a good introduction. I definitely encouraged people to try a reading out with you. I know I was really blown away with my reading with you, as was Lois.
Thank you.
On point, current, fast too. It was very fast and effective, all that kind of stuff. So I'm so excited to have you as a part of Avalon. We'll definitely be seeing more of you, and yeah, thank you so much for being here. So you guys, if you want to book with Tania, I definitely recommend it. You can go on to avalonspirit.com and click on personal journey guides. That's where you'll see all of our lovely journey guides at Avalon. And you can click on Tania's link to experience the bounty of what she has to offer. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Tania, thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, this is great. So I'll see you guys all next week. And yeah, have a great rest of your week.